po. My name is Michael M. Ronquillo. Our topic is all about taking charge of one's health, and I will discuss stressors and responses. When you feel stress, whether you face a real threat or merely think that you are facing a threat, your body experiences is a collection of changes known as your stress response or your fight or flight response. Your stress response is the collection of physiological changes that occur when you face a perceived threat. That is when you face situations where you feel the demands outweigh your sources to successfully cope. These situations are known as stressors. We are facing new normal right now due pandemic. We are experiencing worldwide. Aside from studying at home, we are able to have social living right now. That is why some of us are unable to adapt this situation. They commit suicide or sometimes they act unnormally. This is normal when we are stressed. But how can we overcome those situations? Well, for me, we need to be mentally and physically prepared. We have to overcome this situation by seeking advice for others, especially to our family. We need to be vocal. After all, we are praying that this pandemic will end soon.
So today I will discuss about the physiological and cognitive factors of stress. The effects of stress are manifested in a model developed by psychologist Hans Selye proposed the general adaptation syndrome. He suggests that the body goes through three stages of physiological reactions during stressful events: alarm, resistance, and exhaustion. Alarm is the initial reaction to a stressful situation. In trying to cope with the initial effects of stress, the sympathetic nervous system is activated and releases hormones such as cortisol, epinephrine, and norepinephrine that help the body to fight off stress. So cortisol is a steroid hormone in the glucocorticoid class of hormones. When used as a medication, it is known as hydrocortisone. It is produced in many animals mainly by the zona fasciculata of the adrenal cortex in the adrenal gland. It is produced in other tissues in lower quantities. Adrenaline, also known as epinephrine, is a hormone and medication. Adrenaline is normally produced by both the adrenal glands and the small number of neurons in the medulla oblongata, where it acts as a neurotransmitter involved in regulating visceral functions. And the norepinephrine, also called noradrenaline, is both a hormone produced by the adrenaline glands and neurotransmitter, a chemical messenger which transmits signals across nerve endings in the body. So, nararanasan natin ang epekto ng stress kapag halimbawa nagkaka-adrenaline tayo. For example, may exam, ganon. Yung stress natin hindi natin makontrol. Like, ngayon, sa pandemic ngayon, maraming mga nagtatrabaho ang natanggalan dahil sa kahirapan ngayon at yung maraming mga kumpanya ang nalulugi dahil nga nag-lockdown, ganun po. Then, cognitive psychologist Richard Lazarus has developed a cognitive view of stress. In this theory, he suggests that the way people think about and appraise a stressor is a major factor in how stressful that particular stressor becomes. Lazarus believes that there is a two-step process in appraising the degree of threat or alarm of a stressor and how one should react to that stressor. Primary appraisal and secondary appraisal. In primary appraisal, the individual appraises the severity of the stressor and classifies it as a threat, a challenge, or a harm or loss. If the stressor is seen as a challenge, example, quiz and exam nga, the individual may perceive it as less stressful and more likely to cope well. However, if the stressor is seen as a threat, negative emotions may ensure. More common emotional reactions to stress include anxiety, anger, aggression, apathy, depressions, and psychological impairment. So, yun nga po, ayon kay Richard Lazarus, isa siyang cognitive psychologist na nakadevelop ng cognitive view of stress. Sinabi niya na kapag ang tao ay iniisip niya ang cause ng stress, or we call it the stressor, ang main factor. So, yun nga, meron itong dalawang step process in appraising the degree of stress. Ito ay ang primary appraisal and the secondary is appraisal. Sa primary appraisal po, sinasabi na maraming challenges ang ating na-encounter. Kapag na-encounter natin yung pinakaano ng stressor natin, yun yung nagkakos as a stress. For example nga po, yung sinabi ko, yung quiz or exam. Nagkakos tayo ng adrenaline, hindi natin alam kung anong uunahin natin i-review, ganon. Kaya nagkakos ng stress. So, yung pangalawa po natin is the secondary appraisal. Secondary appraisal. Yun nga po, we perceive it as less stressful and more likely to cope well. However, if the stressor is seen as a threat, negative emotion may ensure. More common emotional reaction to stress include anxiety. So, dito po sa secondary appraisal, magagawa naman po natin paralan yung negative emotions. So, yun na nga po. Diyan na po nagtatapos ang aking report sa part namin po. Thank you po.
So, our next topic is stress and the Filipino, the socio-economic and cultural factors of stress. Another perspective in stress is the socio-cultural perspective. In the Philippines, poverty remains a critical problem. Experiencing poverty or receiving low compensation means higher stress level. Na isa sa mga dahilan ng stress ay ang mababang sahod, lalo na dito sa Pilipinas. Dahil alam naman natin na mababa ang pasahod dito kumpara sa ibang bansa. The less fortunate people are the one who's experiencing a high level of stress. Why? Kasi mas madaming pinaproblema yung mga mahihirap na tao kumpara sa mga mayayaman. Thus, both parents need to work to make ends meet. As parents take on multiple roles, achieving balance between work and family becomes a source of stress. Dahil sa kahirapan ay karamihan sa mga pamilya ay parehong magulang ang nagtatrabaho, hindi lang ang tatay. Dahil sa gastusin sa bahay, hindi magiging sapat kung isa lang ang magtatrabaho, lalo na at mahirap ang buhay dito sa Pilipinas. Even if a person has a job and is making an adequate salary, There are stresses associated with the workplace that add to the daily stressor, such as overload, long hours, and poor physical work environment. Maraming tao ang nakakaranas nito. Isa ito sa mga nagiging dahilan kung bakit nakakaranas ng stress ang tao. Dahil sa katambak ng trabaho na nagiging sanhi ng pagkabalisa, at dahil sa stress ay nakakapagpatanda ng itsura. Hindi linid sa ating kaalaman na ang mga Pilipino ay sadyang masisipag magtrabaho, kung kaya karamihan sa mga tao ay nakakalimutan ng mag-ayos o mag-exercise kaya mas malala ang stress. As a person, we all have different socio-economic background. Based on the research, it says that the overcrowding and living in a poor housing can be a source of stress, as well as traffic and lack of transportation. Why and how? Pagbasihan na lang natin ang pwesto at lokasyon ng tirahan. Kapag ang bahay ay nasa mataong lugar at masikip at mainit, mas malaki ang tsansa na ma-stress ang tao. Kahit na gusto mong makapagpahinga dahil pagod ka galing sa trabaho ay hindi mo magagawa. Why? Because you are living in a poor housing condition. Ang traffic ay nakakadagdag sa stress lalo na sa mga nagtatrabaho na malayo ang pagitan ng bahay nila sa pinagtatrabahuhan. Lack of transportation is also one of the reasons of having a stress. In the cultural perspective, a person from one culture who must live in another culture may experience a great deal of stress. For example, one primary source of stress imposed on immigrant Filipino workers in other countries is the need to adopt a new culture. Isang malaking adjustment ang kailangan mong gawin dahil kailangan mong aralin ang workers in other countries is the need to adopt a new culture. Isang malaking adjustment ang kailangan mong gawin dahil kailangan mong aralin ang kultura ng bansang nilipatan mo. Acculturation is the process of adaptation by which immigrants, native groups, and ethnic minority groups adjust to the new culture, making behavioral and attitudinal changes. Acculturative stress refers to the feelings of tension and anxiety that accompany efforts to adapt to the orientation and values of a dominant culture. Nagkakaroon tayo ng acculturative stress kapag nakakaramdam tayo ng tension and anxiety kung saan may mga bagay na pag-uugali, kasanayan o kung paano kumilos na dapat baguhin upang makasabay o mapabilang sa mga taong nakatira roon. Ngunit, kinakailangan na magkaroon pa rin ng respeto sa paniniwala ng bawat isa. Perhaps the greatest stress is when migrant Filipino workers experience discrimination, stereotyping, and prejudice because of racism and anti-immigrant attitudes. A lot of overseas Filipino workers experiencing discrimination, stereotyping, and prejudice because of racism and anti-immigrant attitudes that often cause them a critical trauma. At madalas ay hindi kinakaya ang stress na nagiging sanhi ng pag-iisip ng hindi maganda, like they are hurting themselves or worse is to commit suicide. And now, let us move on to the next topic, which is sources of coping and strengths. One strategy by which people cope with stress is focusing on the problem. In problem-focused coping, the individual reduces the impact of the problem by looking for the best solution through his or her own effort. The individual uses this strategy to reduce the intensity of negative emotions. So we have here a behavioral techniques that may be used to help people cope with the stressful situations. biofeedback, relaxation technique, meditation, and physical exercise. So first is the biofeedback. Biofeedback is a technique from medical devices and programs that the individual can use to recognize and control the symptoms of stress, such as tension headache. During biofeedback, you are connected to electrical sensors that help you receive information about your body. This feedback helps you make subtle changes in your body, such as relaxing certain muscles to achieve the results you want, such as reducing pain. Relaxation. Relaxation techniques, deep breathing, listening to music, meditation, and exercise such as aerobics, swimming, and jogging. It can help individuals cope with everyday stress and control stress-related health problems tulad na lang ng heart disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes. Mind and body practices focus on the interactions among the brain, mind, body, and behavior. And the last one, physical exercise.
My topic is about needs for self-care and compassion. So compassion is synonym to the words concern or sympathy. So those people who are high in self-compassion treat themselves with kindness and care understanding when they are in stressful events. Alam nila kung paano alagaan yung sarili nila kapag na-stress sila para maiwasan yung pagkalugmok sa problema. There are three elements of self-compassion. First, self-kindness is a sense of common humanity and mindfulness. Ito yung common sa ating mga tao at alam kung paano isagawa. Second, self-compassion entails self-kindness when confronted with the life difficulties rather than being angry. Dito mas pinipili ng isang individual na intindihin ang sarili kapag may problema kaysa magalit. Third, self-compassionate. People accept that mistakes and failures are part of being human and common to all. They are more likely to be mindful or aware of their painful thoughts and feelings. Self-compassion has shown to reduce anxiety, stress, exhaustion, and depression. Dito na-adapt na ng tao na ang pagkakamali ay parte ng pamumuhay. Nagiging aware ito sa mga idea na makakapanakit lamang sa kanyang damdamin. Dahil dito may nababawasan ang posibilidad na ang tao ay makaranas ng anxiety, stress, exhaustion, and depression. Stress as effect on health. Ang stress ay may epekto sa ating pangkalusugan. Stress management is the ability to control stress and develop the skills to prevent the harmful effects of stress. Ito ay abilidad na makontrol at mayang ang kasanayan para maiwasan ang masamang epekto ng stress sa ating pamumuhay. How management stress and practice compassion. Ito ang ilang sa mga halimbawa kung paano i-handle ang stress at matutong mahalin ang sarili. Keep a diary or journal where you can write down, process your thoughts and feelings. Talk to people, share your feelings. Develop good habits, eat the right kind of food, drink lots of water, sleep at least 8 hours. 8 hours exercise regularly and relax. Pamper yourself, go to beach, watch a movie and a haircut, a spa and massage, or eat your favorite food. Develop a sense of humor, think positive, find reason to smile and be happy. Thank you.